Tim.
Yes.
What's your topic?
So last week we went down to Austin, Texas, and it was awesome.
It was good.
You weren't there.
I wasn't there. That's
you would have
okay.
enjoyed it. It would have been. It would have been.
Have
a
you
lot
ever
of
been
fun.
to Austin, Texas?
I have. I like Austin.
Yes, you do.
And I wanted to talk kind of about what we did. We went down to see Rooster Teeth. We did a lot of collaborations and stuff. And I want to talk about that experience that we had from everyone's perspective, specifically Nick and Colin. Because me and you, we've been there before. We've seen,
bro.
We're
pounding bros.
It ain't our first time. We know how that all goes. But Colin, someone not really familiar with Rooster Teeth's content, and Nick, someone who likes making movies and likes the whole production stuff, but hasn't seen their studio and stuff.
Right.
I kind of want to hear what you guys' experience was there.
It was cool. It was interesting seeing how they operate because in many ways it's actually like you like to think about what anyone's doing on the internet as cutting edge, but when you actually start breaking it down, what they're doing is very similar to how Hollywood sort of started, which was that you have a lot of people who have a distribution outlet who are then going to get talent underneath them and then start cranking out awesome stuff. And in that regard, it's really trippy to see because my understanding is like, if you want to make a movie, there's so many moving parts. You have to find a financier, you have to develop the project, you have to get talent involved, you have to figure out who's going to direct, who's going to edit, who's going to shoot it. They want to do something, and it's all in-house. It's fucking crazy. And walking in, seeing the fact that they take up like 4 airplane hangars full of production. They have their own animation division, they have their own live action, they have their own broadcast division, all these things. They can do anything they want, and it's trippy. And they have makeup people. And that, I think, is the sign of when you've actually made it big.
Well, you
can actually hire makeup people.
I mean, Kevin can put makeup on you.
Yeah.
If Kevin put makeup on me, you know what? I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
I feel like you're the prettiest, though. Like, you need the least makeup.
Kevin's not very coordinated, though. He doesn't break anything. But I just feel like if you were to put makeup on me, I would look a little like a cross between a clown and a prostitute.
I used to work at a lotion place.
You did work. You worked at a L'Occitane.
Yeah.
That's right.
For one Valentine's Day, they did makeup. I took like a whole day to learn how to apply makeup on someone.
And you're just now telling me this. We've had you in our employ for an entire year, and you could have done my makeup every day that I walked through the door. Shame on you. Shame on you, Kevin.
So Rooster Teeth has had a makeup.
Getting back on topic.
They've had a makeup person forever. Like that to me is not the mind-blowing thing. Like to me, what's mind-blowing is. But I mean that's cool. That like to you that is a big deal. But like to me, what's the big deal is they now have a whole building for sets just to build sets.
I mean they have their own art. It's crazy. They have their own art department. They have their own production designer that they keep on set, wardrobe, it's not on set. Excuse me, on staff. So that's what's crazy to me is you look like when I think of all the things that I want to accomplish with this company, and you go and you see a company out there that's doing it. It's very inspirational, and that's what I took away from that was that. There are a group of people that, by and large, if you were to go to Hollywood and ask to be able to do these things, people would shut you down. There were so many gatekeepers to that success. They don't care, and they do it anyway. And they figured out a way to make it work. And that's what I think is the most impressive thing is that like we walked in and it was a fully functioning studio.
Yeah,
like similar to like probably on a much smaller scale, but similar to what they do on the Tonight Show, which is like. There is a whole division of the company that does the set. When an idea happens, boom, that set designer's there, that production designer's there. They put it together, they wheel it into the studio, and they're ready to rock and roll. And I just find it so fascinating that they've got this ecosystem there where creative ideas can just kind of flow quickly
from top to bottom too. I think that's the most interesting thing is like they can they can make an entire movie just using what they have and then get it out there without having to rely on other people. And not even just movies. They can do podcasts. They can do live streams. They can do gameplay stuff. They can do animation, all just using what they have, and they can use outside resources and talent and stuff, but they already have the whole foundation.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me on a micro scale of like a Disney, right? Where Disney has like it's a very multifaceted company with just anything you want to do that has anything to do with production, whether it be animation, live action, TV, internet, music, whatever it is, they've got that in-house or they can develop that very, very quickly and get it out. It's weird. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that we could potentially be on a scale like that one day.
Yeah.
And it's also run by children. Everyone like seems to me like they're so young that I'm like, I don't understand. Do you understand what I'm saying? And they're like, yes, I'm 24. Get it. I understand what you're saying. Like,
I own a house.
Right. I'm like, fuck, that's right. You're a
Austin.
They also live in a place that's easier to own a house.
That's true.
But still.
Yeah.
But that was my perception. It was awesome. It was awesome that we got to go down there, and it was great seeing also, because up until this point, the only people that I have consistently generated content with has been you guys and IGN. And so seeing how Rooster Teeth does it and going down there and getting to do some stuff with Achievement Hunter and getting to be on some of their other shows and just seeing the different vibe and how they make content was just fun. It's good to, and it keeps you sharp too, because you're like, oh wait, these guys are like, all right, these guys are doing shit, man. I gotta get my fucking game face
Something
on.
people keep asking us for is a list of all the stuff that we did while we were down there. So Kevin, I'm going to get you links, but can you make sure that they're put in the description? We did about 10 different, maybe not 10, maybe like 6 or 7 Let's Plays with Achievement Hunter.
Yeah.
Those are not live yet. I don't know when those are going live, so there won't be links for
Michael's
those.
just going to delete them because I look too good in them.
They were good. They were good Let's Plays.
Yeah.
I think the best Let's Plays we've ever been a part of because they were like really fun. I was on Off Topic, which is the Achievement Hunter podcast, and that was awesome. Greg was on The Patch, which is their general gaming podcast. You were on that with who?
I was on that with Gus and Meg.
Yeah,
and
cool.
Ryan, I guess too.
Yeah,
because we did the book club too, where it's where it gets hairy. Because I did their book club for Life is Strange afterwards.
Mm-hmm. And then you and Greg and Nick were on the spot, which is their game show. They're kind of like improv comedy game show,
Right?
And that I think is the funniest thing, kind of funny, he's ever had to be a part of. Like
that was a blast. Are you familiar with this show that they do?
No, I haven't seen that. I mean, I know Rooster Teeth. I haven't seen this though.
Right. I mean, this is the crazy thing is you walk in and they're like, okay, you're gonna do this. I'm like, how many fucking shows do you guys do? This is insane. How do you keep it all straight? And they figured it out. But one of the shows that I got to be on was On the Spot, which is basically like it's a game show, but it's largely predicated on improv and kind of like a longer form game show. And it was a blast.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It was just super fun. You'd be great on it.
If you're watching Rooster Teeth, Mike Drucker at Twitter.
Oh yeah,
he's even great.
That would be
you'd be awesome on it.
It's actually
so good.
At Mike Drucker.
At Mike,
Twitter.
whatever, Greg.
That show would have made me really nervous. I'm
done. Rooster Teeth tweets at Twitter. I want Mike Drucker. Like what?
They pitted Nick versus Greg, which I thought was awesome because I thought you guys were going to be on a team together.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. And so they pitted them against each other. So it was Nick with Barbara and then Greg with Blaine. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, man, this is going to be fucking.
You drew dicks on somebody. Who we did find out.
Yeah.
Did I take my shirt off? You're goddamn right.
Of course you did.
Yeah. No question about that.
Had to keep the streak going. Yeah, that was actually really fun because at first I'm like, we have a good camaraderie no matter what. But you being antagonistic against me is always when we're at our best.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Definitely.
because you know exactly what to say to set me up for something.
And that was and I know what not to say. There's a few things where I was like, no, that's too far. I was telling Blaine, I'm like, I got a great one. No, because we were like doing team names and shit. I'm like, no, that's too far. I can't do that. that
and then we also Colin did one no news update video. I did one no news update video. And I think that's it.
Those were fascinating. Because I was there when Ashley was like, hey, because you were the first one, can you do the no video? And you're like, yeah. And I was going to yell stuff from off camera. I'm like, okay. Then we went over there and they went on so long. And I was like, oh, this is so much different than what I thought it was.
Yep.
I thought this was an IGN news break where you pop up for 10 seconds, say your paragraph and you're out.
Yeah.
And it was
I was
instead
not
like,
prepared for that
here's
at all.
what the story is.
It's substantive.
Here's all the history on it.
Right.
Here's all this more information. And I was like, damn, that's cool. That's a lot. That's a deep dive that I was not expecting.
Yep. Not at all. And we recorded lines with a bunch of Rooster Teeth people for Kind of Funny the Animated Series.
Oh, yes.
So
We did.
that was really exciting.
Which I'm gonna hit Drucker up after this. I'm gonna make him do lines too.
Yeah, please.
We're
gonna do lines.
You don't have
together.
to make Drucker do lines.
Drucker and I have done lines
gladly.
many times
them.
together, but
I don't
usually
think
in
that
New
means
York
what you
at
think
3
it
o'clock in the morning. Wait, what are we talking about?
Cocaine.
Yeah, I do cocaine.
I do not. I wish I would not have this body if I did.
I would not
be
able
so
to do
thin.
it. I would just be worried about all the
I'm
money
not
I was
suggesting that for anyone. Put a warning on the screen. Don't do cocaine.
spending. I say it all the time. They don't listen.
Am I allowed to tell people to put
Cocaine.
things on the screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
of course.
sure.
Well,
Okay.
there's
I don't know
something,
how to do
Kevin.
that.
Someone put it on the screen,
He's my
please.
child.
Yeah.
Someone do something with the screen at some point.
Colin,
that
what
all?
did you think of it?
I think that was all
That
we
was
were
all
on,
the
right?
shows, I
Okay.
think. Yeah.
What'd you say?
What did you think of it?
So I think that I was impressed. I thought it was really interesting. Sorry.
Yeah.
Where did he hear you? So I think one of the weird things that people, or like one of the strange things about me, I think, in being in this industry for so long is that like I'm just not a consumer of games media at all. Like I've always been a voracious consumer of games and game culture, but I don't listen to a single gaming podcast, and I never have. I don't watch any YouTube videos. I've never seen a Let's Play like before we started doing them. Like I just don't really care. And like I think that's not how I enjoy gaming.
Right.
And so I always thought like one of the interesting things that I think surprisingly worked from the outside is that I brought in different perspectives of what I thought these things should look like. So when we did Podcast Beyond, I just did Podcast Beyond thinking this is the way a PlayStation podcast goes or a video game podcast goes, not really knowing what a video game podcast was. And lo and behold, Podcast Beyond was huge. And then we do the same thing with Gamescast and with PS I Love You, which are both huge as well. So I think that works because I bring in a perspective. Like I'm more of a consumer of like sports miscellanea and like politics and academia, like, and like what are they doing and how can we bring that into games? So I say that just to set the stage, similar to our games trailers and with Brandon Jones, where where I was like, I just don't know this stuff at all, so I'm gonna sit back and listen and learn about this because I really don't know what this guy did and like what these guys did and how they made success. So the same thing was with Rooster Teeth, where I was like, well, I know these guys exist. I've not watched a single one of their shows. I know these names and stuff like that, like Achievement Hunter and Funhouse and stuff, but I'm not familiar with it. It's just not my thing. And what I learned was that first of all, this is a huge company, 162 employees. Which is amazing. And
as of last week, they could have gotten like 20 more.
Right.
Yeah.
They're growing like crazy.
And what I learned was that like I tweeted about this and Rooster actually retweeted it, which I thought was cool, which was to say like it shows how humble our little operation is and how our ceiling can be very high as well. And it's exciting. It was exciting and interesting and kind of thought-provoking and educational to be there and see how these guys that like live and breathe this stuff within the bounds of this industry, as opposed to kind of like existing in it in the way I exist in it, which is more of like I love games, I play games, I know games, I'll put my gaming knowledge against anyone's, but I just don't consume peripheral games media the way other people do. Right. As opposed to these guys, which are kind of setting the trends of what games media is and doing all these kinds of things. And I was very impressed. Like I never want our company to look like theirs simply because they're way too big, like way bigger than I'd ever want to be. And they do like a lot of stuff that is peripheral, like even more to like what we do. So like I didn't even know what Ruby was until like I've seen that before. I didn't even know how to say it. RWBY, whatever. I don't know what the fuck that is, but like, that's like part of their bread and butter, man. Like now, like they have a fucking shit ton of animators just working on that series. Yeah. I had no idea it was even an anime. Even when they said it, I was like, all right, so Ruby's like this little cute cartoon they do. I guess it's really popular. And then I was like, it's an anime. Like, that's interesting. Okay. But, so like, and they do these like shows. Like I thought the $1 Million Butt, like that's like fucking funny, man.
$1 Million
Butt. $1 Million Butt. I was like, that's a really funny, that's a really funny idea, even knowing names and knowing faces like Meg Turney, like I knew that name, but I didn't even know she worked there. Like it was like fun. So like I'm very ignorant about a lot of this shit, and it was cool to just be quite enthralled with listening to that. I didn't do much talking when I was there. I just like listened and took it in and tried to learn a thing or two and tried to see how these guys that are just way better than we are doing this and way more experienced and way more seasoned, what they could teach us and what we can kind of garner from them to make our operation better and stuff. So as much as I think one of the great strengths of Kind of Funny from my perspective is bringing in outside influences, Colin and Greg Live of course is always a great example of that, which is not inspired at all by anything gaming has ever done. At the same time, these guys have their own ideas on the flip side that are quite ingenious for being within the realm of gaming. And I thought it was fun to learn. And I thought that they were also super nice people, super down to earth people. I had not met. I know Bernie and a few of the other people there. Obviously, we know Ashley because we worked with her, but I didn't know these people. And I always thought they were quite friendly, quite accommodating, quite hospitable, quite successful.
Quite good looking too.
Quite good looking.
Thing that annoys me.
Gus.
So despite from being,
yeah, you're good looking though, Nick.
Yeah, but here's the deal: you walk around there, and it's all. I'm not going to
show the ice cream scoobies.
You're just
watch this, Jugger. Watch him flex it.
Jesus Christ!
Look at him. Look at my baby boy.
Oh yeah, you hate being asked that so much.
I'm sorry.
Don't make me show my muscles.
But I do want to say this real quick. Talking about Achievement Hunter specifically, I didn't know. I knew these guys were very, obviously because of their name suggests, very Xbox focused, very popular. Didn't really know their products, didn't really know them even by face until I had met them there. And I found those guys to be fucking hilarious. And like we didn't get to meet the Funhouse guys. I know you guys know them. I don't know them. But like I really liked them. Like I thought that they were super funny and like my mind was bogged down as it always is with weird shit. And like you just kind of forget what's going on. I was hysterical. Like laughing with them. Like playing these games. Like that seemed like specifically a very fun group to work with. I think I agree. I think their Let's Plays just shit on our Let's Plays. Like in terms of like they really do. I'm just being honest. Like it's not even a fucking joke. It's like
very honest.
It's not even a joke though. It's like we have so much to learn from these people, and that's what I walked in there. It's nice to be able to walk in and just record something and leave and disappear. Like not have to worry about the technical shit. They're kind of somewhere in the middle because they do have syndicators, but like and people that worry about the minutia, but they still have to like kind of sync everything. So it's I don't know. I really liked them in particular. I think that they were really fucking funny, and I enjoyed those videos. I just think that, being so ignorant about the way games media is produced outside of what we've done, sometimes intentionally so, but sometimes because it just doesn't speak to me. And so I want to kind of be true to myself and bring in some other ideas that I think makes our stuff more dynamic. And I really do think that is a strength. It was cool to kind of be in a more endemic space with people that were doing games media and being like, wow, this is so kind of next level. Like this is kind of, this is, we talk about, do GameSpot and Kotaku and IGN and all these have a future anymore. And when I see, like a future in the way that they were when we were there and maybe now, and when I see this kind of stuff, I'm like, I don't know, man, because I'm just being honest. I'm a writer, like through and through. Like I don't want the written word to die. I don't want the traditional way to die, but it's just like, this is fucking huge. Like the warehouse space was impressive. The production was impressive, but it was really just the way things worked and the symbiotic relationship between the moving parts. I thought it was, I learned a great deal. It was quite thought provoking.
Yeah, with the Achievement Hunters specifically, like I really like that their whole thing is collaborative effort, and it's like they want to make sure that their Let's Plays, it's just about all of them being a part of it and all of them just having fun. We are way more educational. We're way more, what do we think about this video game? We're doing a Let's Play right now.
Let me show you something new.
3 out of the 4 of us
No,
are very
your
educational.
Your Xenoblade Chronicles review was amazing.
Yeah. No, but even if we're
on.
not reviewing things, though, the way we play games, we're kind of like looking for the fun parts.
Sure.
We're trying to like,
We
at
put
least...
up the Fallen Legion today, right? And it's me announcing that it's a Vita game. It's me trying to explain to you what's happening. It's you and me trying to understand how the systems work. It's not us like just, hey, we're playing. Like, let's talk about
and even
stuff.
if we
But
go
there's
in
value
blind,
to both.
No, for
Oh,
sure,
no,
entirely.
yeah.
But it's just it's a different thing. They're literally just using the games as an avenue to have fun.
Yeah, they're
And
entertaining.
Exactly, they're just purely making entertainment. And what I really, really enjoyed about us being there and doing stuff with them, like all 4 of us just instantly got their vibe and just met them in the middle, and it worked. Like we found our place with them and also understood, all right, cool, this is their thing. We could do that too. Here's our version of that thing, and we could all work together. And I think that that's like a very powerful thing that you can't just drop anyone in with that group of guys and just have it like
Kevin would have been
eaten
eaten alive.
He would have just been eaten alive.
He wouldn't know what to do over there.
No, Kevin would have fit right in because he's right in their perfect demographic of like 23 to 25 hardworking homeowners.
Those guys are, I don't know. I really liked them, and I liked everyone that we met. I thought, just being able to speak with Bernie again was really nice. He's a really ideas-driven dude, really smart, just fucking sharp. You know what I mean? And Lewis was really like, there was just a lot of really like, I just learned a lot. It was if you go in with an open mind, it was similar to my experience at VidCon before we found it kind of funny, where I was just like, well, I don't know this space. I'm not even sure I really belong in this space sometimes. But here I am, and so I'm gonna learn something about it, and like, and so I did, and I think that it was cool. I was glad I went. I don't know how much, how often we'll go back and do more with them, but I'm eager to like peel the next layer back and kind of learn more about the way they do things and stuff like that. It's not a business that I want kind of funny to mirror personally down to the nitty gritty of what they do, because I think it's so far flung in ways that would just give me fucking agita if I had to deal with that as a
But you're doing that same thing you always do, where you're at the edge of this chasm, and like there's 10 years of history there. It wasn't that all of a sudden it went from being in Bernie's spare bedroom to, all right, we have 162 employees.
No, of course not. Of course not. But I do think that they're smart enough to invest in things that well, it's very similar to the animated series. Like we're doing something that's different. It's much cheaper than making Ruby. And much less popular. Who knows if it will be popular one day? Very true. But it's interesting that it seems like that's actually maybe even more important than anything else they do. In terms of their capital investment, in terms of the people they employ, like the space that's taken up, the mind share of Ruby just being everywhere, the way they talk about it, pictures everywhere. I'm like, this is interesting because this is not the way they were founded. It's not what they were founded to do. I don't know that they did Red versus Blue and stuff like that.
I mean, that's the thing is like they were made to make animated, whether it's machinima or not. Right. Like Red vs. Blue was animated before Ruby was the thing. And I think Ruby was the natural progression of, all right, we will never own the Halo characters. Like they license the rights to use them. So they do legally own the ability to use the Halo characters. Right. But with Ruby, from top to bottom, that's theirs. And so I think that was the nice natural progression for them. But yeah, that Ruby didn't happen until 8 years, no more than that, like 10,
it's pretty recent.
10 or 11 years into them existing.
Yeah, and I do think that I didn't realize that the gentleman that passed away, Monty, he was the one that came up with it. That was his show. So they hired, it's just the tendrils, the way things connect. Like I'm like, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah, so they hired him so he did all like Metroid or not Metroid, Haloid and all the like just random the Dead Fantasy like fighting videos. And Bernie was like, fuck, we need this shit. Like, this is awesome. So they hired him on for season 8 of Red vs. Blue. And he kind of gave Red vs. Blue a kick in the ass of like, you guys know it is just two dudes talking back and forth and just like moving video games. Monty came in and animated fight scenes and made them fucking crazy over the top things. So Red vs. Blue season 8, 9, 10 was that. And then Monty was like, he pitched them on an anime, which was Ruby. And they're like, let's do this. Because, you know, now that kick in the ass Red vs. Blue got, it needs another kick in the ass to keep it more relevant. So then they did other stuff. But Ruby was really like, it just kicked it off for them. And that launched their entire animation division. It's not just Ruby. They have a show called X-Ray and Vav, which is a comedy superhero show. And then they have Animated Adventures, which is just their like podcast moments animated and stuff. But like that whole animated section, it's not just Ruby. Like they're working on like 6 shows. And plus there's other stuff that's not announced yet that I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that's just fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's cool. It was a very, like I said, a very, being so ignorant of what they do, I couldn't be any more ignorant about what they did before I went there. So it's not like, it's not like I knew anything because I really didn't. But it's eye-opening. Like that, I understand more why people like this kind of stuff. Like we always said, like with Let's Plays, I think Greg and I even talked about it candidly on PS I Love You and other places before, which is like, I don't understand why anyone would watch a Let's Play. Like, and I've said that a million times. Like, it's just like, like I would rather just like play a game or watch game, unfettered gameplay. But there's this subculture, not even a subculture, it's a massive culture of gaming that does like watching this shit. And it wasn't until I never really watched a PewDiePie video. I have no idea what the fuck he does. Like, but like when I did with Chibinar, I'm like, oh, this is fucking funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. I watch like Angry Nintendo Nerd or whatever, Angry Video Game Nerd or whatever his name is, and like that stuff's funny, but that's kind of different. That's also like kind of really
That's
like
a feature more than anything.
Yeah, and that's like pre-Let's Play almost. Like I remember watching that in college, I think. So I think that's old, but so it's like I understand some of like more the educational thing or more the sarcastic thing or the whatever satirical thing, but yeah, things started to click with me more. I'm like, I get it. Like it's I don't mean to be closed-minded about it. It's just the things that, and I don't know if that I even am being. It's just a matter of what interests me, and like I'm impressed with the way ESPN. Like I think ESPN does really impressive stuff, and so like I want us to more like look like that. But then I realized like, well, these guys are doing shit that looks like that too.
Right.
So it's like
I mean it goes to the core of how they started, right? And when you have the IGNs, the GameSpots, I mean those are media outlets. Those are for first and foremost information. Where these guys started, where I think was the harder road, but proving I think to be much more I don't know if sustainable, but potentially more lucrative, is that they started out by making an entertainment product.
Right.
And it started out by entertaining people first and foremost, which is always sort of the line I feel like we skate here a little bit, because we are sort of a hybrid of that model. We do come from IGN, but at the same time, most of the stuff we do here is for the sheer entertainment value of it, right?
Yeah.
With the exception of the PS I Love Yous, and well, I guess this podcast notwithstanding, all of our podcasts are kind of more of an IGN style project.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I think PS I Love You, I think, is the only thing.
So
Colin and Greg Live, kinda.
No,
it
started off that way, and now it's just pure shenanigans.
But Gamescast is not really talking about news.
Yeah, but then like when we go into the Let's Play,
talking about big topics or whatever that's happening.
Yeah,
it all goes back to, I mean, like to what Colin's saying of not understanding what a Let's Play would be, so he didn't know, right? Like my whole career and what I do and what this has become in a lot of ways, right, has always been that I'm the best friend on the couch in the basement talking to you about games, right? And when I'm talking to you about games, I'm specifically talking about when I was telling Poe why Spider-Man on PlayStation 1 was so good, right? And that's what my Let's Plays are too, right? I'm showing you the Fallen Legion because it's this new Vita game and this is why it's cool. You know what I mean? And that's why it's cool to go to Achievement Hunter and see them do it in a different way, where it's what we used to do, where it was a tower fall out in the living room, we're all being a bunch of assholes or whatever, or even the Hot Pepper Challenge. You know what I mean? We are experimenting with that, but we're so far to the other side, whereas they don't ever come to our side and do that, where it's like, hey, we're playing Far Cry Primal for the first time. Let's talk about all that's happening.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what's interesting for us is that they have the No, which Ashley started when she left IGN and went over there. And before that, they had nothing that was like IGN or GameSpot. There was no video game news. They had no product that even did that at all. I mean, the patch existed, but it was still in its early days. And then once the No came, that's now they're really, and now Funhouse as well. Like Funhouse is kind of us on the other side, where they do have that kind of game critic journalism mind, but they're also like, we're not critics or journalists, and they make entertainment. So it's just weird, but it's cool because all of that can coexist, and simultaneously next door they're making movies and TV shows and HBO quality stuff, and that's fucking crazy.
It's nuts.
And like that's the whole thing too, is their whole subscription model and their plans for the future, like what they see the internet becoming. it's not just, oh, Laser Team was a movie we made, we're gonna make more movies. We're making movies, but we're also doing daily live shows that are all different with different sets and different experiences. We're also doing all the gameplay videos. There's animated shows, there's comedies, there's dramas, there's this. It's like they're becoming. It's not just like, oh, they do comedy and stuff. They're like a TV channel that has all types of different programming.
Oh no, see that's why I liken them more. Not even a channel, not even a network, right? They're more like a studio. They're more like hey, we're developing everything. And even coming in and like bringing people like us in to collaborate with them and stuff like that is very much studio minded of saying like, oh, let's reach out to outside talent, bring them in, have them on our products and stuff like that. But and being able to cross those lines like that, it is crazy. It's crazy to think where they're at now and where they might be 5 years from now.
Yeah, and I think that the thing to keep in mind is that people hear this like, oh, they're getting too big. They're getting too big. And it's like they're doing too much. It's not the same guys making movies that it is playing games, that it is, making cartoons. Like they have teams, and when you see it, it's even in the buildings, it's separated. Like the live action team and the animation team are in completely different buildings.
Right. Yeah. And to Colin's earlier point, like, yeah, I kind of agree that looking at that size of a company right now is daunting given where we're at. But you have to also remember that the founders have gone and now kind of are taking care of just their own little slice of whatever they wrote their own check as far as what they wanted to be able to do. So Bernie takes care of a lot of the live action development. Gus is doing a lot of the events and things like that. And they don't really, it doesn't seem like they interact too much unless they absolutely like their paths cross or they have to be on a show together. But so that's the cool thing is they've been able to gravitate toward what their strengths and their passions are. And Jeff's obviously strength was passion was Achievement Hunter, so he gets to just sit around in that room all day and crack jokes and fuck around with the guys, and and that was a blast. And it was a very
you can kind of see how kind of funny can evolve that way too. You know, it's like with you and like Greg doing the more like video gamey stuff, me and Nick doing the more comedy stuff, and then collaborating whenever it makes sense, because there is a Venn diagram, and it's not exclusively this or that, but it is just growing in different ways, and I think that's a very cool future that I'm excited for.
Yeah, I think a more immediate takeaways would be like, it was cool to see them have a space, and like the ease in which talent, and I hate calling myself that because I think it's a fucking shitty word, but the so-called talent of
it's definitely a loaded word, that's for sure.
The so-called talent, like being able to just kind of come on, have a free and clear head to do what you need to do and just walk away is like really cool. And I don't say that as like trying to be lazy. I say that as like it's exhausting talking about games and talking about anything, But what I like it just to be on and like have your mind right and not have to worry about the setup and blah 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 blah, and like you guys have to edit and all that. It's like a fucking pain in the ass. So like I took that away, but I also just that like punditry is like way more universal than I think I gave it credit for, and like the the way people talk about games in a real deep way is very similar way to the way they talk about politics on YouTube or on MSNBC or Fox News, in the same way that ESPN or Fox News or whatever Deadspin talks about sports. So there's a lot of cross-pollination happening there already. I'm surprised. I'm still surprised that like some ideas haven't been stumbled upon more from these other spaces that I think are so obvious, which is why I love Colin and Greg so much, even though it's something we don't like put a super amount of effort into. Like it's still a fun and silly show that that I actually think out of everything we do has the most growth potential. So it's like it's cool to see like people spreading their wings and like kind of doing those kinds of things. I found it quite inspirational to be there. Yeah.